We've all heard the old quote that we should never discuss politics or religion in polite company. Here in America, we ignore that a lot. We're either fearless, impolite, or not very shy about politics or religion. Sadly, public service and civil debate have diminished lately. So, how can we discuss contentious issues more civilly? And why would anyone want to run for office in the first place? Let's explore some answers to both those questions today on Hometown. Journalist Pete Hamill suggested that the most powerful force in American politics is not anger, it's nostalgia. Over the past few election cycles, we've often heard how things didn't used to be this way, that America is more divided than at any other time in history. It has definitely not been fun these past few election cycles. However, we can't ignore that the Civil War was worse. And politics has always been contentious in the United States. It may even be a feature, not a flaw. The loudest voices and most extreme ideas seem to take over the conversation, and today, internet platforms, television news, and nearly hourly breaking news all maximize outrage and fear. They focus our attention on the things that separate us rather than what we have in common. Let's stop for a minute to take a deep breath. We'll explore why running for office is still an honorable way to serve your community and discover ways we can talk to each other instead of at each other. Let's quiet the noise momentarily and discover ways to contribute to solutions rather than add to the chaos. Let's talk about good citizenship, an essential ingredient in the remarkable story of us.
What a pleasure, Mabel and Zoe, to be here at Walla High School. Thank you so much for having Hometown here.
Thank you so much for allowing us to be on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Well, it's great. So, Mabel, tell us who you are and tell us what you're involved with.
I am the president of speech and debate at WaHi High School. I actually restarted the club about 3 years ago. It was really successful for several years and unfortunately dissolved during COVID. And so I had the opportunity to restart it, and it has been such a wonderful experience. I've just learned so much.
This is fantastic. So about how many students do you have in the debate club?
About 8.
8, yeah. Okay. And Zoe, what's your involvement here?
So I am the debate advisor. I am also the English teacher at Lincoln High School, and so I do both, and I switch back and forth between English teaching and debating.
Wow, what a great opportunity to work with students. I'm sure you have some awesome students. Of course, we have Mabel here, and what a neat opportunity. So as we're talking today about debating, and we're talking in an election year, and we're talking with all sorts of different opinions and all of that, Mabel and Zoe, could you share with us some foundational things that you're learning and what you're suggesting happens in a debate club about being civil when we might have different viewpoints?
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the foundations of debating generally. And it's, obviously having a respect for your opponent, but not just respecting your opponent, respecting the difference between them and their argument. We are actually not allowed to, in many forms of debate, we are not allowed to choose which side we are going to be debating. So we actually have to prepare both beforehand and go in and to the debate, and we are assigned a side, whether we agree with that side or not, and we have to argue it to the best of our ability. And I think it gives us a unique perspective on both sides and lets us see all of the different perspectives that go into that argument.
Zoe, what's it like for you to see the students be able to do that? Like Mabel said, if maybe that's not where their heart is, but they're also representing another side and giving an opinion on it.
It's amazing, seeing their ability to dive deep into that research on both sides of the argument, and it shows their ability to, I think, be empathetic, to others, being able to see things from both sides. And it's incredible to be able to watch them, present their findings and be able to combat the other side. And
how important is civility, Zoe, as you're advising the students? How do you address that?
All of them are very civil with each other. So
good. This is good.
So it's thankfully not really a concern. However, we interact with other people when we go to competitions.
So you're interacting with other schools, correct?
Yes, you're interacting with other schools, you're interacting with other students, and so that idea of civility really needs to come into play when you're interacting with others. Of course, it's important amongst your own team, but it's also important when you're interacting with, others.
Who might not have had enough sleep the night before.
Correct.
Something like that. Their dog ate their homework. Who
Yes.
knows?
Yes. Exactly.
But to be able to come in and to be able to discuss and leave things on the table.
Yes.
So Mabel, tell us what you do. So you have debate club here on campus, and then Zoe, you mentioned going and debating with other schools. So is this something you do all year long, Mabel? Is this every quarter? How does that work?
Yeah, so in the school year, we usually have a meeting during the school week after school on one day, and then we'll often hold meetings on the weekends. And then as we get into the competition season, we have competitions on the weekends. And then in the summer, that's often time for intensives and that sort of thing. I had the wonderful opportunity to do the Gonzaga Debate Institute. This summer, it was a 2-week residential intensive. They offer scholarships to students who live in Eastern Washington. And it was honestly transformative. And I'm so eager to share it with the rest of the club because it is such a wonderful opportunity.
What did you learn? What was something that stands out? I'm sure there are lots of things, but is there one thing that stood out?
So many things. And I think that the one thing that really stood out to me was this ability to go toe-to-toe with someone, like strongly, and be super passionate about it. It was fairly cutthroat in the competitions, and then go play ping pong afterward. I went up against my roommate there, who wound up being one of my very, very good friends after this intensive, and I lost to her. And but it was such a wonderful experience because I think that is the epitome of civility, is being able to like have an intense argument and come out on the other side and go to the bagel shop and get a bagel.
And still be able to communicate and still be friends.
Yeah.
And that's what's, I think, so important for us as we're doing this show, is to talk about these agreements, these disagreements, and be willing to, like we said, you might not totally understand, but be able to have an understanding or to respect the other person, and that's their decision.
Yes.
So when you mentioned the word argument, Mabel, so is it a discussion or is it an argument?
It definitely, I think in the debate sense, the discussion and the argument, I think the discussion is more overarching, and the argument is what you're truly trying to convey.
Yes. And there's also a definition of the word argument, though, right, Zoe, where that's in your face, upset,
Yes.
angry, and all of that. But the argument word that you are using, that is the stance on what your point is, correct? Is that what you're, yes.
Usually.
And I think that a lot of people are getting into this argument where it's that, and that's where the civility kind of goes away. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely, especially in today's political climate,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. So what about, as you are a student here, Mabel, and Zoe as a teacher, by learning these skills, and of course, these are skills that everybody should have learned, at first grade, but unfortunately, but are these skills, Mabel, though, that you think that are helpful for you as you are then part of a student body? Would you encourage more people to get involved with debate groups and having healthy conversations?
I mean, like 100% absolutely. It is so crucial in this day and age to be able to have those civil discussions and promote civil discourse. And I think, you know, in a place as diverse as a high school, where everyone is just put into the situation and put into a classroom together, where they don't necessarily know the other person's background, I think the ability to have those discussions and understand that you're never going to agree completely. And that is okay, and not only is that okay, that's good. Those things broaden your perspective and allow you to become a better debater, a better arguer, and just kind of a better person in society in general.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's wonderful. And what is your hope as we are in this election year and all of that? What is your hope for people across our country and around the world, for that matter?
I hope that people stay engaged in the debates, in the election process, and I hope that people try to use skills that we have to use in debate that allow them to really dig deep and form their own opinions and have that, not shy away from having those hard discussions and having that civil discourse. Because that's truly what breaks down the barriers between all of us. And I think, you know, debate, it is effectively just a form of communication that can be so useful in politically polarizing times.
So Zoe, what is your hope as you're looking ahead to the school year and their future? What is your dream for your role? I should ask you that. Yeah.
My dream is that, well, I think one of the biggest things is research. And I just hope that coming from this, people will just learn how to do their research and learn how to do it well. And I'd be able to, because that's one of the things that I address in class is how to research properly and find sources that are non-biased, you know, available to you. That's what I hope, is that research aspect becomes more prevalent in our students and really people in general. I want people to
know what they're
talking,
know what they're talking about. Yeah, and
yes.
not just say something flippant.
Yes,
So,
yes, absolutely.
Well, Zoe and Mabel, thank you so much for being on Hometown.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And we wish you all the best as you go toe-to-toe with the other schools. And we just are excited that we were able to be here today, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. 2024, it's an election year, right, Gabe Accosta?
It is.
And it's a big year, and not only are we voting nationally, but we also vote every year locally, statewide. And tell us, Gabe, what you do and what your office is.
So I'm the elected prosecuting attorney for Walla Walla County. I got elected a year and a half ago. And so the prosecutor's office, we do what is normally felt, we prosecute crimes. So in Superior Court, we prosecute felonies against adults, gross misdemeanors and misdemeanors. We prosecute that in district court for the county. And then youth who commit offenses, we prosecute in juvenile court. That's also in Superior Court. And then we have a contract with the state to represent them in enforcing child support and paternity establishment. So we have an attorney who does that part-time. And then we also represent the county various departments, the Board of Commissioners, Treasurer, all those different departments. We represent them, give them advice. If someone were to sue one of the entities or the county as a whole, we represent the county. If it's complicated, we do contract with an outside law firm that does legal civil defense work for us.
Wow, Gabe, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That is a lot. And you have been in this office, you said, for a year and a half.
Yes.
And so you were elected, and how long is the term for?
4 years.
4 years. And you've been an attorney for how long?
Since 88, I should have counted. It's around 35, 36 years.
So Gabe, why did you decide to run for this position?
Well, so my predecessor, Jim Nagel, he'd been the prosecutor since 1989, 1990, and he retired at the end of 2022. Based on my experience, I had the most experience in the office, and I had been the chief deputy prosecutor for over 20 years. And so I had the experience, the knowledge, and I felt that I could do a good job for the county, serving the community in that respect. So that's why I ran.
Well, and thank you for your service. So can you tell us what it has been like for you to make that decision, to run, to get the people involved to help you, the posters and all of that? Give us a little idea of what this means, because as a citizen, we see all of these, but for many of us who haven't run and haven't been called to do that, what's it like?
Well, it's stressful, exciting. I had to think about, could I afford it? Because a campaign requires money behind it, but it also requires a lot of work, a lot of meeting people. And I was not born an extrovert. In fact, I'd just soon be in a corner reading a book or something. And so this job has helped me, expand my, being an attorney has helped me learn to engage with people, obviously. So a lot of perseverance, hard work. So, I had to make the decision to do it, knowing that I might have opposition, and would that be too stressful, having to, campaign and answer questions about, why am I more qualified than my opponent, kind of thing. But it's been a really good experience. I contacted a handful of people who would be my campaign committee, and they helped me as far as taking some of the load off, as far as making decisions about the media, that kind of thing, and then just the encouragement that they gave as well, reaching out to people for contributions, and then keeping up with filing paperwork. So somebody, when they have to run, they have to report all the contributions, who's contributing, how much, and so that way the citizens know who's supporting somebody. Is it local people? Is it outside people? Businesses versus just regular citizens. And then doorbelling. I had help with a few people, and I can say that I doorbelled most of Burbank, well, maybe half of Burbank, most of Waitsburg, part of College Place, maybe half of Walla Walla. Lot, just time consuming.
Absolutely. So what was that like? Were people receptive to you coming to their door,
mostly,
or a lot of slam doors?
No, there was only a handful of people that, when they saw me and saw who I was or what I was, running for, that they, just shut the door, and that's disappointing, but you get over it, because
you go to the next
vast
door,
majority,
there's another one.
yeah, the vast majority were very receptive, had questions, good questions that made me have to stop and think about, why am I doing this? Why should I, have this job? What am I going to do in this position? What am I not going to do? So, yeah, a lot of different things like that.
Yeah. So what does it mean to you to serve in this position?
It's multifaceted. Prosecuting crimes, which is to hold the offenders accountable, but then also in many of those crimes there's victims, and so we want to reach out to them, help them with paperwork, with being able to meet, if it's a violent crime, being able to meet with a victim legal assistant to help them navigate perhaps protection orders, filling out paperwork for crime victim assistance, if there's medical bills or other things like that. So it's that's what I think most people probably envision, what a prosecutor does.
And as now someone who's in an elected position, what's it like for you to have that position in our country and to live in a country where we're able to have a voice?
It's both a responsibility. It's an honor because the citizens have entrusted a really, I think, a serious position, on my shoulders. And so, whatever decisions I make, it reflects on the office, the county, and ultimately, the citizens will then decide, did I do a good job? Did I not? If I decide to run again, do we want that person back in there, or should we look for somebody else? And so, those are things that I, among other things, that I think about as I make, just everyday decisions, at my desk.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk with me about your position. It's a 4-year term.
Yes.
And then if you choose to then run again, is there term limits on this position that you hold?
No,
Okay.
no. About 15 years ago, the state legislature imposed term limits, but it got, it's been so long ago, I don't remember what all happened, but there was a lawsuit against it, and so it was thrown out, and so there's no longer term limits. I mean, my predecessor, he was a prosecutor, the elected prosecutor from 1990, actually 89, 1989, 90 through 2022.
Wow.
So that's
okay, it's quite a career.
20-some years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a long career. That's a
Yeah.
long career. Well, thank you, Gabe Accosta, for your service, and thank you so much for being here on Hometown as we talk about local service here in Walla Walla. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, and I thank you for the opportunity to talk to your listeners.
Continuing with discussion for the Northern Blues Fire Weather Zone, Oregon 643, Washington 692. A cold front is sweeping across eastern Washington and eastern Oregon at this time, providing gusty winds and areas of light precipitation. The fast-moving front will give little opportunity for any appreciable rainfall. Dry and seasonably warm conditions can be expected. This concludes your afternoon fire weather forecast for the Northern Blues Fire Weather Zone, Oregon 643, Washington 692. All fire resources, please acknowledge the afternoon fire weather.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another segment of Discovery. In this episode, I'm not out in the woods wandering around, and there's a reason for that. I'm sitting here with my sweet wife, Lexi. Hello.
Hello.
Lexi, you just came back from working on a wildland fire in Montana.
I did.
So Lexi's an amazing person, and I'm not just saying that because I'm biased. We've traveled the world together. You've lived in Thailand for 6 months working at a medical clinic. But one of the unique things that you work on is wildland fires. So tell me a little bit about what you do on wildland fires.
Well, like you mentioned, I'm a paramedic. And so I go out on fires every year, and I'm there on the fire line with the firefighting crews in case they get injured, in case they need medical assistance.
Is that like a 40-hour-a-week job, or what's the situation?
No, it's quite a bit more than that. Normally, especially during the busiest time of the year, we're out there 16 hours a day to make sure that the lands and people's homes aren't destroyed, or at least as little as possible is destroyed.
So you're on contract, that you're working on contract. How long is a contract?
2 weeks. So
2 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks. We can go out for 2 weeks, or we can extend if they're really busy and be out for 3 weeks.
So do you have any stories, any unique stories from working on wildland fires that you could tell us?
Well, thankfully, most of the time I'm just treating blisters and dealing with little cuts and scrapes. Back before I was a paramedic, I was an EMT working on fires, so I had a paramedic partner with me. I was down in Idaho, and we were what's called spiked out, where we're sent out into the middle of nowhere with a few crews to stay and hold a specific section of the fire. They were doing night ops, and we get a call over the radio that says firefighter down. So my partner and I jump up, we hike up to where the crews are working. There's a couple guys that got hit by a tree, but we had to wait for 4 hours for the helicopter to come in.
You love adventure, don't you?
I do.
Sounds like a really difficult job. So you carry a medical bag with you. Roughly how heavy is that most of the time?
Between 40 to 45 pounds typically, and it can get heavier than that depending on what I'm carrying.
Well, I have a few statistics that I wanted to read. Every year, wildfires burn an average of 7 million acres of land across the United States. And the Forest Service employs around 10,000 people annually to battle these fires in various capacities. Wildland fire crews are made up of different groups like engine crews, heli crews, hand crews, and smoke jumpers, etc., each playing a critical role in containing these blazes. It's no surprise that wildland firefighting ranks among the top 10 most dangerous jobs in the United States. The sheer physical and mental demands these people face are incredible, and yet they show up year after year to protect our lands and our communities. So for those of you out there who are affected by wildland fires in some way every year, take a moment to appreciate the people who come back again and again, year after year, to continue fighting these blazes. And sweet lady, thanks for coming on and sharing with me about your adventures of working on wildland fires. So thank you for watching this segment of Discovery, and I will see you next time here on Hometown.
And you're clear our treetops. Thanks for saving our backs because you're Alpha. Yeah, my pleasure, guys. No problem.
We come to the table with our life experiences, perspectives, and core beliefs. In truth, we will only ever see eye to eye on some issues, ideas, or solutions. But there is almost always plenty to work with there. Seeing each other as the precious children of God changes how we interact with each other and our community. We can collaborate and honor each other. We can find ways to move forward. Now, I'm going to break every rule about not talking about politics or religion because I want to leave you with this passage from Galatians. You have been called to live in freedom, my brothers and sisters. But don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. For the whole law can be summed up in this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. But if you're always biting and devouring one another, watch out. Beware of destroying one another. We complain a lot, but today is a great day to celebrate our community and country and count the many blessings God has bestowed on us, even in these contentious times. Let's keep talking about the hard, uncomfortable, and disagreeable things. And let's do it with a great big helping of love and respect. See you next week on another episode of Hometown. Do you love uplifting stories of people in our community as much as we do? When you give a gift, you make local, uplifting, community-focused programming like Hometown possible. To find out how, just use the QR code or visit our website at the link in our bio. And don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more great stories about our valley.